This is video number one from my sports nutrition class. This is the last block of instruction we'll be covering in my class. It's water. It's not a very extensive block of instruction. For me, for week 8, I have students finishing up assignments, and so that's more important, I think, than getting into a lot of detail that really is not even included in our text. Okay, if I can get this to work. So the thing about water, which is kind of interesting, is and I make this joke whenever I make bad jokes. If I can get my computer to work, it's not working. If I can make bad jokes in my classroom, of all the nutrients that we consume, it is the one nutrient that every human being on Earth, from the minute they're born to the day they die, will experience deficiency of. We call that thirst. Absolutely, it's easy to become deficient in water. If you are exercising, if you're out in the heat, if you're out in the cold, if you're losing water because it's so dry out. And I think we focus so much in sports on, arguably incorrectly, on protein. We don't focus enough on carbs, but we do focus a lot on carbs. And then we just don't focus a lot on fat, which is good because it's not really important before, during, and after exercise, immediately after exercise. That we focus so much on protein and carbs that we forget about water. For many athletes, your ability to perform really well can simply come down to hydration status. If you run out of proper fluid balance while you're exercising, it can end your performance. In some situations, hiking in the woods, it can end your life. So it really is an important nutrient that you should plan for and always underestimate your ability to hydrate, which means drink a little more than you probably think you should and bring more water than you need. You don't have to drink it. That's a standard hiking tip. Always bring more water than you need. For sports, primarily, it's a cooling. Well, water lubricates the entire body. All chemistry occurs in body water. We are a water-based organism. Having said that, though, for the vast majority of athletes, and this still is a sports nutrition class, or people who work in construction, or folks who do landscaping, which is just a really hard job to do if you've never done landscaping, fluid is your cooling mechanism. It's really simple. We impart body heat to the water, our body water, and when it evaporates, the heat leaves our body. It's a cooling process. So it's really important for cooling. Since the body is also kind of like a water heater and our skin is kind of like an insulation jacket of a water heater, maintaining a lot of volume when it's cold out is also important. Because keeping the water, like I just said, when water has our heat, when we sweat, we lose the heat. Well, it's the same thing in cold weather. You can be exercising in cold weather and also sweating. So you're losing heat from your body via the warm fluid leaving your body. What I'm saying is you need to be hydrated under both situations. Everyday temperatures, extremely cold temperatures, extremely warm temperatures. Some of the most sneaky times that you can get dehydrated is if, especially for runners and soccer players, when it's cool out and a little rainy, like a little drizzle coming down, you don't have a sensation of thirst. That doesn't mean you're not losing a lot of fluid from sweating. Kind of interesting. Now, most of your water is actually inside cells. That's intracellular. And that it's really hard to lose intracellular water. I mean, if that were to happen, you'd be in bad shape. It's the extracellular fluid that we can lose. The fluid that's in our blood, in our lymph, between cells, that's called interstitial fluid. It's the fluid that's between cells. Babies don't have a lot of between space. Babies have fluid that's in their cells and in their blood, and that's why they're so easily prone to dehydration. They can't steal it from the in-between space because they're just not big enough yet to have in-between space. Now, where does fluid come from? For many of you who drink a ton of water, it's probably just fluid. I see my athletes in the classroom, especially wrestlers, but also some of my track athletes who carry their 1-gallon giant thing around every day, or like myself, I have a liter Hydro Flask and I at least fill that up once a day before I go to campus. Right now I'm drinking decaffeinated coffee. And that's a pretty easy way just to get pure water in the body. Having said that though, coffee, tea, alcohol, beverages, juices, they all provide fluid. Studies have shown that even if you're a heavy coffee drinker or a heavy tea drinker, yes, they are diuretics. Yes, they will make you pee, but you end up bringing in more fluid than not. So if that's your means of bringing in fluid, you're very comfortable with iced coffee or iced tea, and it doesn't make you jittery, and you can do it. I mean, that's certainly a viable option. Now, food has a lot of fluid. Bone has a lot of fluid. I have personally dried a bone in a desiccator and the ovens that you the heat tissue up at. I can't think of the name of it, but I mean a piece of bone from an animal can lose half its volume, half its weight in water. It's actually pretty amazing. Fruits and vegetables are a fantastic source of fluid, obviously, but even meat has water. Certainly, yogurts have water, cheeses have water, so it's out there. You just have to consume foods that have fluid in it. That's really the key. And then loss. So urination for most people who aren't exercising, who aren't under extreme conditions, could very well be the bulk of your fluid loss. When you go to the bathroom, there should not be that much fluid loss. I know some people don't like the word. I'm going to use it anyways. Feces should be moist. They shouldn't be wet. You don't want to have diarrhea. Long-term diarrhea can cause dehydration. People can die from that. Cholera, which is one of those infectious tropical diseases, literally is a diarrhea disease, and you end up pretty much dying from a lack of fluid. But if it's exercise and you're sweating, you can blow a ton of water off from your skin and also from your lungs. Of us, I'm teaching in California. Maybe some of you aren't even living in my state right now, but when it's really dry out, you lose a lot of moisture from your lungs as well, and especially from your skin. And I love this term on our slide. So let me go back, and I'm going to end on this one. Insensible perspiration. I lived in Arizona twice in the military. When it's 104 out, usually after a certain temperature, the Army or the DoD calls Cat 4, Category 4. So you roll up, you undo your uniform, you blouse up the bottom of your pants, you roll them up. If our sleeves are not already rolled up, you roll them up. There's a way to tuck them in, whatever. There were many times in Arizona I never felt that I was sweating, but I was totally dehydrated. It is so dry, you don't even feel the sweat coming off your body because water doesn't stay around long enough to maintain like a structure that we call a sweat bead. That's insensible perspiration. It's a real thing, and in really hot and dry climates, it can be a serious issue.